Hi there. Welcome to Monetize Your Business podcast conversations in partnership with FNB. We are bringing you yet another explosive episode where we talk to a phenomenal entrepreneur making their waves within their industry. And I'm really, really excited for our conversation today with Moneeloa. But before we have our conversation, let's bring in our co-pilot, Papa Biz. How are you?
Papa Biz here. No, I'm glad that we can have another episode that we can be recording so we can all be able to learn, different industries and we learn from our peers. So this is going to be good.
Yes, absolutely. Today's conversation is going to look at relationship building, family bonds and ties. So I think that's going to be really important. Parental relationships, children relationships. And I think those are all the foundations of a strong society. And of course, we're going to also look at the business behind that as well. So before we get started, Moneeloa, welcome to this conversation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Before we started recording, you were telling us a little bit about your upbringing and the fact that you come from rural Polokwane.
Yes.
And I think it's so nice to kind of have a bit of that background. Before we get into the spice of the serious conversation, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I grew up in a place called Vienna. We call it typically Vienna in Limpopo, raised by a grandmother. So you can imagine, raised by a grandmother, most of what I call my parties were church. So, I don't remember us going to any parties or weddings, but church I do remember. So I've got very good memories of church. So I'm a person that is quite grounded in church. It's part of my DNA. And growing up in that setting, in that context, because it was a grandmother's house.
Yes.
We grew up with all the cousins.
Oh, nice.
Actually, there's only a few of my cousins that were not raised by my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So my love for family really roots from there, that I was raised from an extended family where just on Saturday, we were talking about how we never really called our aunts and our uncles by uncle and auntie.
True.
But they were mama, mama this one,
Yes.
mama that one. Only now that we're getting older, we're starting to call them by the names that they should go by. So that's my rooting and my background, family, church principles, community. Actually, yeah, community.
That's beautiful. How would you say being raised by your grandmother within a rural environment played a role in shaping the person you are today?
Sure. A huge part of who I am really got shaped by her. So I was raised by a grandmother that was really unconventional. Now I'm so unconventional in my nature. Very well principled in terms of what family should look like.
Okay.
And also my mother embraced the whole community.
Okay.
So taking in other kids from the community and raising them, and many people finding a home in our home. So it was just welcoming for everyone. That's where I think it becomes second nature to love family. It becomes second nature to understand the grounding that a grounded family with principle brings in one's life.
Yes.
The identity. When you have that stable background, it sort of helps with that foundation. A rooted foundation in who you set yourself out to be out there. So, yeah.
And just going for yourself as well. So, I mean, then you would have gone to school that side as well?
I did my primary school up until grade 6.
Hey.
Yeah.
You do before you say standard.
Yes. Yeah, so up until grade 6 there in the rurals, Likiting Primary School.
Okay.
Then I went to Devilskloof in Zanin area, King's
okay.
Court. Yeah, so that's where I did. So I went to a few schools, then King's Court, then back in the rural. So by the time I finished my matric, I was back in the rural with my grandmother at Sewa Secondary School. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you have to look back, how would you describe the type of person you were in school?
Sure, I was everywhere. I was one of those kids that I did all the extracurriculars. I was a nightmare to my mother and my aunt because when it was time for tennis, we bought tennis rackets. When it was for that hockey, so I had all these, and they're not cheap, eh?
Yeah.
So I was
Not a joke.
no.
They're not.
They're not a joke.
So I was quite an interested child, quite curious and believing in my capability. So there was never anything that I would say, no, there I can't go. I did drama, I did everything. So I was quite an involved child and grew up in an environment or in a home that they encouraged us to be involved. I don't necessarily have to be the best in what I did, but be involved. Throw yourself into it and see what happens. Yeah. So they never limited us, and I never limited myself in terms of what I could get myself into. And I grew up with that.
Yes.
Okay.
So after I had my third child, I went into a bit of a slump. COVID time.
Yes.
And life transitioning. And when you hit your 35, 36, there's a major life transition that happens. And I suppose drawing from that nature of me, I told myself, you know what, I need something that will kick-charge me, get me back into me. Signed up for Mrs. South Africa and I just got in.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Dived into it.
Oh, wow.
So I always joke that I actually found out 6 months later that this is a competition because
Okay.
I just dove in.
Yes.
I needed something that will be like
Yes.
a quick charge for me to get myself there. So growing up like that, actually, it helped me with not being scared of trying out, not being scared of risking myself. Although now as an adult, I tend to play there, in that field of not wanting to have risk. But most of my growing up, that helped me to say, you know what, try. What's the worst that can happen? Go into it. Yeah.
And I see with that type of attitude to be able to try, I mean, we've seen like with a lot of different, business people, that's how they get in and so on. But I'm trying to figure out, even just in terms of before you got into business, what like, how did we get there? Like, what did you study? What is your work? Or did you go straight into business? How did you?
I actually studied Becom economics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was drama on its own, but I knew I ended up there.
And I have a soft spot for economics. That's something that I'm always reading about, but I didn't study that.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I've always had the creative interest in me. Actually, even during university, I bounced around whether should I shift and major in marketing or not. But I went through with economics, and starting to work, I then landed in a marketing environment.
Really?
Okay.
Yes.
With economics?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I started as an analyst in a marketing department,
Okay.
analyzing sales and all of that, because in economics you major in stats as well, right? So I decided, I don't have the luxury of going back to school and doing honors and masters to be a junior in economics, in the economics field. So I decided this is where I started. Let me figure myself out. And I started researching and found marketing research. And the more I read about it, I fell in love with that aspect because it's about human behavior, understanding human behavior, shopping behavior, and all of that.
Yes.
So I decided this is where I'm going to shape my my career. So I've been in that sort of an environment of marketing, marketing research, human behavior. And I just grew and grew in that and realized that I actually love human.
Okay.
I actually love human. So when that time of life stage came when I was feeling incongruent in the workplace, I mean, there would be days where in the morning, I wish I'd be in front of people.
Oh, wow.
Talking to people, and I'll be connecting with people, not sitting in front of a laptop connecting with data. Right. So when that time came, and I had to really make decisions about what's my next step.
Yes.
It was a no-brainer for me to take the route of coaching, the route of now going into the human development space.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I got there. Yeah.
It's so interesting. First of all, I feel that energy from you, that you are a person that connects with other people. So I can definitely see how that is something that really shaped who you are. And it's actually interesting in life how you even though you were in the numbers space and the economic space, it still brought you into marketing and then connecting with people. Sometimes we think something is either or, but the breadcrumbs can actually lead us to where we need to go.
Exactly. There is never a lost cause, so there's never a journey that goes to waste.
Yes.
Really. There's never that. There's always a gift in every journey. It might look like that those detours might really feel daunting, not nice. But when you look back and you just put everything back together into sort of a picture, you really realize that everything fits together. Sometimes it might not even, sometimes it's people.
Yeah.
Okay.
People that you meet along the way.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just you being in that space and being made aware of 100%. Who you are. So, for instance, the last organization that I worked for before resigning and coming into business, it was not an easy organization, really. But I would say it was the greatest gift of all, because I got into an environment where they really were big in supporting family.
Okay.
And I was a new mother, and my kids came 18 months apart. And I was struggling with my firstborn child. He's quite a big emotions child.
Wow.
Big emotions. And we were struggling with tantrums, did not know how to handle those tantrums. There were threats from crash to expel him.
It can be quite overwhelming.
I've never heard that. So
expelling from crash?
Yes.
Imagine.
Yes. Expelled from crash. And we had gone to, I think 3 child psychologists. And they're like, no, but we don't see anything wrong, in terms of psychology, everything. So going into that company, they were offering a free course for parents.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And getting
that's progressive.
Very,
I've never heard of that before.
Very.
Okay.
Very. And that's where I got to, that's where I fell in love. And actually, that's part of the building blocks that got me to where we are now, foundations and bonds. I got to realize that I'm a mother, but really I did not know what I'm doing. There's a whole person that I don't understand his operating system. There's a whole me that I don't understand my own operating system. So what was a challenge with my child was not necessarily his psychological makeup, but in how we were relating to him.
How you're relating, okay.
Yes. So as I learned that, and as soon as I learned that, I saw a huge shift.
Really?
Yes.
A huge shift. I got to understand what it is, how I am responding to him as a child is not making things any better. It's actually making him worse.
Worse, eh?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because they absorb everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that environment was an environment that really exposed me to the world of learning, because it was a department of psychologists. So it exposed me to the world of the psychological side of things and being interested to say, I might be a mom, but I'm not God.
Yes.
I don't have everything figured out in me. In the olden days, maybe they knew how to parent from intuition, but we live in an environment where it's so fast, it's so furious, it's so stressful. Most of the time we're operating so far from our intuition. So far from our intuition.
True.
So it that environment helped me to embrace the learning journey. As a person, I need to learn. As a person, I need to go to school to
100%.
learn.
Get to know something different. Yeah. So tell me about this new chapter then of your life, where you've now moved from a corporate environment. You've heeded this call within you that I just want to connect more with people. I want to delve more into human relationships, etc. Where did that path then take you from the coaching perspective in your business?
It has not been an easy one.
Yeah.
It's not been an easy one. So starting out, I had to start out first, spend time in the coaching space, getting the qualifications.
Yeah.
And figuring myself out now as an entrepreneur. That's a whole journey.
That's a whole journey on its own, yeah.
That's a whole journey on its own. Because you realize that, yes, I can do the work. I can connect with the people. I know the content and everything, but I'm not necessarily an entrepreneur.
Yet.
You have hit the nail on the head, because that is one of the big things when it comes to monetization, especially our knowledge, is that often at times we've got the information, but how do we turn that into a business so that then it is profitable?
Yes.
So you notice then that gap.
Yes. I noticed that gap, that I'm not, that's not my strongest point. So I'm still in that, in that bridging that gap, learning, I've spent, it's been 5 years now, collecting all of the knowledge, collecting all of the wisdoms in terms of being able to do this work. Now I'm learning how to then build my business and be profitable and be an entrepreneur. Learn how to sell, have a good relationship with selling.
Yes.
It cannot be a business if it's not selling.
100%.
Right? Yes. So I'm in that bridge.
Okay.
I'm in that bridge, yes, at the moment. Yeah.
What did you, as you've been going through, I mean, compared to, you said it's a 5-year journey, what were some of the things, if you look back at what was the toughest for you to get into in terms of now running a business?
So the greatest challenge for me is first getting the insecurities out of the way.
Okay.
So the inner talk of I'm not qualified, because in here I'm talking so much psychology language, and I'm coming from a school of thought that says for you to talk about this topic you must have the certificate for it, right? And I'm struggling. I find that the biggest struggle that I constantly have to get over for myself is say, but you've done all these certifications and you've paid a lot of money for it. You're not just a coach, an Instagram coach, but you did go to school for it and got qualified.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. So centering myself to believe that I am the person qualified to do this job.
Okay.
That's as an entrepreneur, especially serving a purpose like that, I think it's one of the greatest things that you need, that you get over. Then the second part, like I said, the building of the business, the marketing and sales part of the business, being able to package my vision and mission. You don't know how long it took me when, being asked, what is your offering? What are you offering? How easy you said it now in your introduction. It took me a while, because sometimes you have it in you, you know what it is. But putting it into paper can be quite a difficult thing. So as a solopreneur, as a small business, it's not easy doing things by yourself. You need a community.
Community,
You need a community. So those are the learnings that I found were making it difficult. When I'm on my own, it's not easy to think. You go into a rabbit hole. So constantly seeking out for a community. Constantly seeking out for that one person that I can talk out my ideas.
100%.
And I find my way. So,
and I think, you hit the nail on the head there, which is that for a lot of us, especially as we're trying to figure this thing out, we're moving, we've got different ideas, and it's to be able to take that time to be able to really investigate, okay, but how do I summarize? What do I do? What, because I need to be able to communicate this clearly, not only for myself, but if I'm not clear to myself, how can I be clear to a client?
Thank you.
And if I can't be clear to a client, who's going to pay me?
Exactly. Exactly. And also, realizing you cannot serve everyone.
Yes. And that's a biggie. That's a very big one that takes time for us to accept, because we want to serve everyone. There's so many people that we see that are in need of it, but it's not everyone that's our customer. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with.
It is. So that's part of the bridging gap that I'm in now. So constantly going back to scripture. My sheep will know my voice. Not all sheep is sheep mine.
My
sheep is mine. So those are the things that I've found to be difficult with business. The self part, the structures that needs to be in place for being able to do business, and the the knowing how, creating a relationship with, I must sell, I must
Yes.
connect, I must risk myself out there, I
Yes.
must get that no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
must
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the things.
Do you have I mean, as we've been talking, I'm just trying to understand a little bit better. Do you have examples, different clients that you've worked with where you've thought, this is really satisfying because of the impact that you're able to make?
Yes. My teens have been my greatest satisfaction, right? And Papa, it's for me in that moment working with the teens, I'd not even be feeling that I'm making an impact, but then having them come back and their parents say, "You're a godsend. You're doing God's work." I mean, there's a teen that when we first met, he was so introverted. He was so feeling stuck in his life.
Yeah.
And we worked together. Today he walks the runway. He's a model.
Wow.
Wow.
The model.
People.
In front of people. So when we did the exercises in class, risking him and say, you need to stand in front of the class and present.
Yes.
You could see that if he could
Yeah.
strangle me, he could.
Yeah.
He would always wear a hoodie and hide himself.
Oh, shame.
And I'll ask him what I see when we're talking about certain topics or doing certain activities, you would go and you would close your hoodie. And he says, I'll be feeling so overwhelmed.
Wow.
To now him walking boldly.
That's a huge transformation.
It is. So those are the moments that really are satisfying. And seeing and one mother who, when I met in every session, she would be sobbing and crying. And to see her enjoying a relationship with her kids and really enjoying now having kickstart, because the beauty of going into coaching, it also kickstarts you into the journey of you.
Okay.
The self-journey.
Yes, because you have to introspect now.
Yes. So I enjoy observing how she's her journey of self and how she's just blossoming on her own. So she came saying, I'm experiencing, challenges with my son, but you walk away realizing it's a holistic journey. It's not just about the child. It's a holistic journey, right? Yeah. If the one part of the triangle is not well, the whole triangle is not intact.
Exactly.
So if the child
so
is not
interesting.
well, the parents cannot be well, the entire family is not well. So you cannot focus on one and leave the other behind.
Exactly. They're all interconnected.
It's interesting because I only recently this year I saw a clip where parents with extremely troubled children would send them off to some camp somewhere, and I don't know much about it. I just saw clips coming out where the one kid was just completely truant, and they were there, and they were just such a problem, and the instructor or the person in charge said, bring this kid to me, and they're just like, if you want to go. Nobody's forcing you to be here, and in fact you can walk. And he just, all of a sudden, this child that was such a problem just responded to authority and basically fell in line, and they were explaining, but I mean, you can't carry on like this, because this is how you carry on at home. And I was watching this and I was thinking, sure, some parents have actually got it very difficult, eh?
It is.
Where do they go for help? And I mean, you're also somebody who's able to help them.
Yeah, it is tough. It's not easy. It's not easy raising kids. Even for myself, raising preteens. My eldest is 13.
Okay.
Sometimes those boys will make me feel like I'm not qualified for doing this.
Hey, kids will do that to you, hey?
Yes. It's not easy because being a parent, how do I want to put this? It's quite an involved business. It's quite an involved business. And we're raising kids in an environment where it was not like when we were raised. For us, there were certain family codes that were not spoken, but we just fell into life.
Yes.
I don't know how they did it or how it happened. But we are in an environment where there's a lot of, I believe we didn't have a lot of external influence.
True. 100%.
But there's a lot of external influence right now, which is shaping our kids. And when we are not present when we are not taught, when we are not aware of certain systems, then we find our kids, we don't recognize them. Right. So, for instance, with my kids, as much as I'm informed, as much as I transfer what I know. There are times where I feel like I'm parenting a TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm competing with a TikTok parent.
That's
wow,
the reality
yes.
of the times we're in, hey?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm competing with a TikTok parent because then he comes with this and he's calm down.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Yeah.
Because he saw it somewhere and it appeals. Remember, this is a child that had major tantrums. So it's in him that he has this major
And
energy.
they're easily influenced.
Very.
The latest trends, the
Very.
latest viral, what, and there they go.
Very.
Yeah.
So, as parents, it's not automated that our kids will fall into line with what we believe in. It's not automated that we will raise kids that will resemble how we were raised.
100%.
Unfortunately, the environment that we're in, we have to be intentional,
because completely different.
Yes, intentionally teach while understanding they have their own journey to walk.
Exactly.
Which is the
What a
difficult
tough
part.
balance to strike, eh?
They have their own journey.
Their own journey to walk, eh?
Yes. So there will never be a guaranteed fit that if you do this, this is what the result
Because
that you're
they're
going to
their own
get.
person.
They're their own person. I think that's what makes parenting really so difficult. You do all that you can do while knowing they've got their own journey.
Okay.
Sure. Tell me something. If somebody's watching this and they've heard of coaching, they have a vague idea about it, how do they know that they're now ready to seek, let's say, your services, for example, from a coaching perspective?
It first starts with acknowledging that I don't know everything. Because there's always something that I don't know, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a person that is ready and willing to learn, a person that is ready and willing to see, right? If you're willing to see where you are doing well, because it's not that all the time you're not doing well. You're ready to see where you're doing well and be affirmed, and you're ready to see where you're not doing well, where you did not know, and you could use the space of coaching to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I love the most about coaching, my principle in life is you can never do life alone. Life is not a solo ride.
100%.
And I make a joke and say, Jesus, as God as he was, he needed 12 of the best.
Yes. He also had a team.
He had a team. He had a team.
Yeah.
So coaching is where you get to have your team.
Okay.
Someone to handhold you, to show you your blind spots, also to show you your star spots, right?
Sure.
And it's a place that you always go back to because you will forget. I don't believe in doing training once. You can read a book, but you never get to practice.
True. True.
You can go to training. A 6 months training is not enough. A 12 months training is not enough. So with a coach, it's that person that is in your corner that handholds you and supports you throughout your process, right? And it can start, it can stop, it can start. The clients that I've been with, they've become sisters.
Oh wow.
Yes.
They've become, because they never really leave my nest.
That's
Okay.
beautiful.
They never really leave. Yeah, it becomes part of your community of
Yeah.
support.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, I mean, as we're looking to wrap up on this, I'm wondering, just in terms of our community of entrepreneurs who watch this podcast, what type of words would you like to leave for them when you think about your journey that can be encouraging to them?
I'd say entrepreneurship. I'd say it's a PhD. It's a PhD.
Yeah.
Embrace the journey of you that you need to go through, because you're the foundation, right? You're building everything on you. So for the purpose that you're trying to birth, for the service that you're trying to birth, the biggest investment that you must invest in is you.
Is you.
Because you're the carrier of that seed.
Yeah.
invest in your learning, invest in knowing yourself.
Okay.
What are your triggers? What are your strengths? And maximize on your strengths. Work on those triggers. Because if you're trying to build a business, yet you're not engaging with yourself, you're going to keep stepping on yourself.
True. 100%.
So embrace learning, have a community. Have a community. Have a coach. Those networking sessions, they go a long way.
They do.
Where you get to talk over and over and over and over about what it is that you do, because then that's where you perfect your craft and you get to believe. You know, sometimes it's a calling. You get into business, you know it, you know it, but you need to walk a mile into it so that you believe.
Yeah.
You believe and you believe and you believe. And you need to talk about it over and over and over till you believe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Gosh, I love those final words. Thank you so much for that. Papa Biz, it's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. What have been your biggest takeaways?
You know, often discussing with different people and trying to figure out what business to do, or if they can do it, or they're already in business and they're struggling. And sometimes it's almost that, like from your story, it's just connecting the breadcrumbs. You know, that you've spoken so much about community because that's how you grew up. You know, you grew up in community and you saw the impact that it had in your life. And of course, fine, you've studied economics and you're practicing and so on, but it just, you know, goes back there to be able to see, but how do I grow community where I'm seeing a lack thereof? And that spoke in terms of allowing you to go in a new path to become a entrepreneur in this space, because now you basically created a whole new path for yourself, and it just actually makes sense when you look at it afterwards. But you know, when you're going through it, I mean, there's so many things that you're doing, and there's kids and marriage and all of these things, and you're an economist. But in the end, I mean, it just shows, you know, just connecting with who you actually are.
Absolutely. No, that has been absolutely fantastic. Tell me, if a person is then looking to get in contact with you, what do they need to do in order to do that?
I am on Facebook. So you can send a message on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. You can also send me an email. Can I get my email?
Yes, of course. Please feel free.
It's foundations, N with a N, bonds with a Z at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And then on the Instagram and so on, is that also Foundations?
Moneeloa Chaane.
Okay.
Yes.
Moneeloa Chaane.
Okay.
Moneeloa
Then we'll just make sure to include it as well in our
description.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Both Facebook and Instagram is Moneeloa Chaane.
Great stuff. I think for me, my biggest takeaway is just I think this conversation has reminded me of the importance of coaching. Like you said, no man is an island. Everybody needs community and support, and just finding those avenues to plug in. And there's nothing wrong to say that, relationally, I feel like something is a little bit off and I just need somebody's support, help, guidance, just a soft landing. So I think what a privilege it is that people have these types of avenues that are available. So that was a beautiful reminder of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Monetizers, this brings us to the end of yet another incredible and insightful podcast conversation. Please leave your comments down below. What were your biggest aha moments? What did you enjoy the most? And don't forget to plug into our Monetize Your Business community and ecosystem. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. Make sure you're plugging into our physical workshops. We look forward to seeing you in person. Until our next podcast conversation.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.